Star Wars 7x7, episode 1849. Well, thankfully it doesn't happen too often, but I made some major mistakes in yesterday's episode, and so today it's a Department of Corrections episode where we're going to set the record straight on The Mandalorian and Clone Wars as it comes to Disney+. Let's go. Hey Rebel Rouser, I'm Alan Voivod and this is Star Wars 7x7. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode, and right off the bat I want to give a shout out to Sarah Hess, Andrew Keene, Johnny Orme. Those are the three folks who at the time of recording now and here are the ones who flagged for me the fact that, maybe I ought to double check what I'd been doing when I recorded my episode yesterday about Disney Plus and about the things that were going to be available day and date. And so for everybody else who happens to catch it before they catch the Department of Corrections stuff that I've already posted online, then thank you very much for flagging it for me. I really appreciate it. And again, my apologies for the errors. So here is your full Department of Corrections update about the Disney Plus episode that I released yesterday. For a start, The Mandalorian. All right, so yesterday I had said that everything was going to be available on day of, and it turns out that that is not necessarily the case. So the article that sourced this whole episode came on Lifehacker and then flagged me over to CNET that had done its research on every potential thing coming to Disney+. And the way that the article was written, it read to me like all of the stuff for The Mandalorian, all the episodes of The Mandalorian would be coming out on day one. Well, going back to the Disney Investor Day that happened the day before Star Wars Celebration, or actually it happened on April 11th, so that was the preview day for Celebration, they announced that episode 1 of The Mandalorian would be available on Disney Plus the day of launch. And there hasn't been any other update saying, nope, actually the whole season would be available. So yeah, I essentially misread that post on CNET, and probably my own excitement got the better of me on that one. So that's essentially what happened there. So episode 1 of The Mandalorian so far is confirmed being available on day 1 of Disney Plus's launch. But as I was digging into this, there is a bit of conflicting information kicking around out there about the number of episodes in the season. So back in August of 2018, it was announced that it was going to be a 10-episode season, but later on in the year, The Hollywood Reporter started saying that it was going to be an 8-episode season. And I haven't been able to find anything else that necessarily contradicts that or that revisits the 10-episode situation. So I am not fully confident at this point whether it's going to be an 8-episode season or a 10-episode season. If you can point me to a source that will confidently deliver that information, then I would absolutely welcome it, and I will give you a shout out on the next show where we talk about it. But at this point, I'm not sure whether it's 8 or 10. The most recent thing is The Hollywood Reporter saying it's 8, but it's another one of those things where they reported it without necessarily saying so-and-so said it's going to be an 8-season or an 8-episode thing. So I'm not entirely sure how well I can trust it at this point. And of course, now my cynic's hat is fully screwed on top of my head, really tight. And so yeah, that is what the situation is with The Mandalorian. And I may as well mention while I'm at it that I've seen a couple of outlets reporting that Season 2 for The Mandalorian is a confirmed thing. And as far as I've been able to research today, there's not been an official announcement saying that Season 2 has been greenlit for The Mandalorian. All of that comes from something that we talked about on the podcast, actually, about Jon Favreau appearing on the Jimmy Kimmel show and saying that he's already working on Season 2. I think that's as good as a official renewal as we're possibly going to get. I mean, it's one thing to consider the fact that Jon Favreau actually wrote 4 scripts for The Mandalorian before it was ever officially greenlit in the first place. Like, that was just his excitement for the pitch and saying, like, yeah, this is how committed I am to it, and this is how well and deeply I've thought about the whole situation. But, this time he's writing Season 2. Obviously, Season 1 was already greenlit and is already wrapping up post-production practically at this point. And yeah, it just hasn't been officially announced by Disney, but the fact that he's writing it now, it's a whole different situation from him writing it before even season 1 was greenlit. So anyway, that's all I have to say about that as far as The Mandalorian goes. As far as the Clone Wars goes, well, I'll address that after the break. Stay tuned. This episode is brought to you by Constant Contact, the premier email marketing solution for small businesses and organizations. I've used their service since 2003, and over the past decade and a half, I've watched them evolve, make the product simpler, more powerful, easy to use, and do everything that they can to help train people to use the product more effectively and for it to work with other forms of marketing like social media, for example. So check out sw7x7.com/email to learn more about Constant Contact and start a free trial. Once again, that is sw7x7.com/email for a free trial. Welcome back. All right, so the deal with the Clone Wars. Basically, I ended up misreading the story just utterly and entirely. This one is entirely on me. This is not a situation where, maybe the text was a little bit unclear in the story or something to that effect. But I will say in my defense that I will swear up, down, left, right, and sideways that I remember hearing that the Clone Wars was going to be available at launch. And I believe I heard that at Celebration Chicago. Now, as to whether that was from a legitimate source, well, that's another situation entirely. I seem to recall that that's what they announced at the Clone Wars panel at Celebration, but I am willing to state for the record that I might well be wrong. And certainly the CNET article did not say that it was a day one. It said it was a year one situation and said that there was not an official announcement about when Clone Wars Season 7 would go live on Disney+. So, yeah, I find that unfortunate, but I swear to you that I thought I remembered seeing that it was going live on November 12th. But tracing it back, I don't know where I had this in my head from. But there was a report from Anthony Bresnikan back in January of this year saying that it would be late 2019, which is, of course, when Disney Plus was slated to launch as well. So, yeah, I don't know. Anyway, for the record, once again, I want to categorically state my deepest apologies for the errors. And, yeah, I never like making mistakes like that, but thank you again to Sarah and Andrew and Johnny and everybody else who's chimed in to ask about it and who's been very polite in pointing out the flubs on my part and, not taking me behind the woodshed over it, metaphorically speaking. But anyway, that's going to do it for this episode of the show. Thank you so much for joining me for it, whether I get it right or wrong. And may the Force be with you, wherever in the world you may be.
This podcast is not endorsed or sponsored yet by Lucasfilm Limited, Disney, or 20th Century Fox. It is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Star Wars, the Star Wars logo, all names and pictures of Star Wars characters, vehicles, and any other related Star Wars items are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of Lucasfilm Limited or their respective trademark and copyright holders. May the Force be with them. All original content is copyright 2019 by Star Wars 7x7. We hope you love it.